Actually, the screen in front of you.
The front? Oh,
Do you see the button where it says got it? Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you like, Chair Decker, I can do roll call to establish quorum and officially start the meeting.
okay, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Okay, so Evan Decker,
Here.
Brenda Lee,
Here.
Scott Parsons,
Here.
Reverend Van Hook.
Here.
So we have a quorum and the meeting has officially started.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Monique. So great to see everybody here in person. I will attempt to read you this fabulous introduction in a proper manner this time. So this is the Outreach and Community Engagement Standing Committee of the Community Advisory Board. For those that are in public, please put yourself on mute. Our purpose is gathering and providing information around the county's efforts to promote investment. Some of the responsibilities of this group are to identify outreach methods to engage the community regarding initiatives related to public safety realignment, improve public access to information regarding realignment, also to provide membership cultivation and succession planning for the Community Advisory Board, also to nurture CAB's ambassador program, and to organize our annual new member orientation. Thank you to all that are here and for your commitment. And we are going to do some introductions and starting with Monique. Oh, no, starting with us. Would anyone like to start the introductions?
Well, I can certainly do
All
that.
right.
All right. My name is Scott Parsons, and I'm a resident of Moraga, and pleased to be here for the OCEC meeting this morning.
I can go next. Brenda, if you want to go.
Okay, I'm Brenda Lee. I live in Richmond and I'm also pleased to be here. Rain and all.
Yes.
It's good.
Julius Van Hook from Hercules or West County. And I'm glad to be here.
And Evan Decker, working in San Pablo in West County, Contra Costa College. Also very excited to be here. I think the last time we did have CAB members that are present introduce themselves also.
Yes.
I'm Crawford Carpenter, CAB member, and I'm from Central Contra Costa County.
Okay,
And I'm Monique Tate with the Office of Reentry and Justice. Happy to be here with you.
fantastic. Thank you so much. And then we have any announcements? Start with announcements. Any announcements? Okay, seeing as none. Is there any public comment on any item that is not currently on this agenda? Okay. Seeing as there is none, let's go ahead and look at the minutes. I think everybody has the minutes in their agenda packets. Page 4.
Excuse me, Evan, may I give a short announcement before you go to that item?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it would be an announcement, not on the agenda. So Supervisor Carlson's office inquired about CAB's vacancy and plans to promote them among his constituents. ORJ can also send out another recruitment email on CAB's behalf.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so in the minutes, we'll just take a minute if you haven't had a chance already to review the minutes.
Can you see the agenda?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Any comments or around the minutes? If not, we can entertain a motion.
Move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, I can take a vote.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so the motion was made by Reverend Van Hook, second by Scott Parsons. And I'll take the vote. So Evan Decker,
Aye.
Brenda Lee,
Aye.
Scott Parsons,
Aye.
and Reverend Van Hook.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you so much. So on to number 4 on our agenda, which is the ongoing conversation regarding the onboarding process, which is task 6 in our membership cultivation part of our outreach, our work plan, rather. And Scott, I think, has been kind enough to put something together for us to consider, and this will be a bit of a conversational piece for this point.
Exactly. And I was asked to do this back at the last meeting. I apologize that I didn't get it to the agenda in time for this meeting, so it couldn't be included in it. But what I did do is take a crack at what I believe was what all of us kind of were discussing. There's nothing sacred here. I'll be happy to change it. It's just I put some words together yesterday that I thought would address those needs. And it's not up there and we can't make copies. So what I'll do is I'll read directly for that. And that is task 6 under the membership cultivation. I wrote OCEC shall plan and schedule the annual onboarding orientation training for new CAB members held in January of each calendar year. OCEC will also ensure that all CAB members who are selected to the board after this annual training is offered, receive the essential elements of the orientation to meet their training. And I don't know, are you allowed, Monique, to put that up?
So I won't put it up at this time, but what I will do is when we get to number 6 to finalize the work plan, I'm going to add that language to the work plan so you can see it, because the work plan will be your working document. So that's where we will actually see that once I put it on the work plan.
Okay.
That makes sense?
It does. It does.
Okay, okay.
So the first sentence was, just the basic, and I guess Crawford, you can weigh in here, but we want OCEC to kind of be in the driver's seat, correct? In scheduling the onboarding orientation training like we had last January. So that sentence pretty much addresses that the annual onboarding orientation training for new CAB members held in January of each calendar year, that OCEC will plan that. The second sentence, I put OCEC, and I'll repeat it, will also ensure that all CAB members who are selected to the board after this annual training is offered receive the essential elements of that orientation to meet their training needs. The reason I worded it that way was after it's offered, we do have new members that come on after January, and we should. I think all of us that were in that seat, I was one of them, felt kind of absent all the tools for the first couple of months because we didn't have a mechanism for learning those things that were offered in that January. Now, obviously, it's a 2-day session. It is the reason we're not going to give a 2-day session probably, but receive the essential elements of that orientation to meet the training needs or their training needs. So that's what I put in there. Did I miss something? This was clearly what we all kind of knew
Mhm.
was our role. It just hadn't made it to the work plan yet. And we'll make changes, by the way, or Monique, are you going to register the changes that are
Yes.
verbalized or?
Yeah, those changes are gonna be put on the work plan, but yes, definitely, if you all mention any changes. I will, once we get to the work plan, which is number 6, I will update it, and then they'll also have another opportunity to modify it at that point. But yeah, I think right now we're discussing it to make sure that it makes sense to the group. Or if they'd like to add anything or modify it.
I mean, I think that makes sense to me. In terms of scheduling and planning the training. And then I do appreciate the language of making sure that new folks that come in receive that training. And then I guess you know, if we're in agreement with the task, then we can kind of determine what those essential elements are moving forward.
Mr. Chair, I have a comment. That those are excellent words. How are we gonna handle, for example, those like Reverend Van Hook and yourself came in at mid-year? Don't we need something, or is that the next step? You know, this is the broad outline, because I'm just sitting here thinking, maybe there's something we could do. I thought Patrice did an excellent job on, you know, if we scale down some of what Patrice said, I think, because I reviewed her comments, you know, she nailed it. Those are right where they should be. And then maybe we do something with our CAB PowerPoint. So we at least give them a minimum of a base to work from. And that could be done on, you know, maybe an hour or so. I think Reverend Van Hook, you attended, you know, one of the sessions.
I did.
You know, maybe some recommendations from you or you know, what do you think? I'd be willing to do that or put something together if I could assist.
Right.
Can I respond?
Of course.
Thank you. I agree 100%. This is the task. There's a lot that lies underneath these 2 sentences.
I'm with you.
Yeah, and I think when you said, or is that the next step? I see that as the next step, that pursuant to this, each year we'll decide on what those essential elements are, and if it's the PowerPoint and some other documents or orientation elements that we agree on, that would, I just for this wanted to keep it
Perfect.
because this is just a task
Yes.
description.
Perfect.
Is that a, yeah?
I think in the language, and I feel a little unfair advantage that I'm able to see it and others are not, but maybe can we pass that around? Can we pass?
No, we can't, not at this point, we can't, because because it wasn't included in the agenda. However, once we get to item 6, maybe I should have made item 5 number 4.
Okay, then we.
But once we get to item 6, then I'm gonna display the work plan. I'm actually gonna type this in there.
I
And
see,
we're
okay.
going to actually do what we're doing right now, going through the process.
Okay, so the only, I think, getting at a little bit of what Crawford is saying is somewhere in there to include the word develop. Because it said, shall plan and schedule. And that takes care of the when and the logistics. But in terms of that process of what goes into the process, that's something that needs to be, it is, has been developed, but needs to be.
Sure, I think that's a good.
Use a big word, extrapolate.
So it could start with OCEC shall plan, comma, develop, comma, and schedule the annual. Would that
Yeah,
be?
I think that's along
Okay.
those lines.
I think that's a good addition.
And then when we get to the. Any additional comments or thoughts?
I think that summed it up.
All right, so that is that onboarding process. And then the CAB's mission and values, aligning our values with our mission. And I know that came up in the minutes from the culture conversation. But I think also that might be something more that is going to happen in the development of the onboarding process. Or I guess looking to Crawford there, was that a conversation that was happening in the general CAB meeting?
Yes, sir. We had a discussion in the general meeting, I believe the gentleman's name, and I've already had reached out to him, John Dante. And he has volunteered to give us like 15, 20 minutes or at our next CAB meeting to take us through a process to help us work through that.
Okay,
So we just have to see how all of that plays out.
okay.
He's already been contacted.
And I apologize, I was not at the last CAB meeting. Is there anything any members want to share about that conversation or that topic that happened?
No.
Okay.
So during this time, while you were talking, I pulled up our CAB website. And I'm wondering if you would like to see where it talks about the purpose and the purpose and functions. And I don't know, it should come up. But it's not coming up. Should have tested this before I pulled it up. But anyway, we do have purpose and functions. I wonder if that would tie into your mission and your values.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I'm gonna stop sharing. Oh, wait, yeah. Oh, so I'm not sharing it, right?
No, we don't see it yet.
No, I'm not sharing it, but it's not opening up on my end. But we do have purpose and functions, which are part of CAB. And I mean, I could definitely share that with you, which it should be on the website, but I think we're having a problem with the website right now. So that might help you determine the mission and values for discussion.
Okay. So if we're not able to see it, maybe we can come back to it.
Yeah, and I can, yeah, I can find it at some point and just share. It's it's on our website, but it's not displaying right now. So, and I don't know if we're just having connectivity issues, but it definitely is something that can be reviewed at any time. It's not a Brown Act violation or anything. I just can't display it right at the moment.
Okay. Okay, so why don't we move on from that conversation and
Okay,
we can include that in our next meeting.
okay,
We can attach the language into the agenda for our next meeting.
yes.
How does that sound for everybody?
That sounds good. The only comment I have to that whole subject matter is it kind of surprised me a little bit to be on this agenda when in the greater cab meeting, wouldn't some of our members miss the opportunity for this exercise? Or is this, it's on the OCEC agenda, but it seems to me that we would want the greater cab at some point to weigh in on it at least, right? So we'd be recommending this, I guess, then to the greater cab after we've
Yeah.
done our work.
Maybe I misunderstood. So Mr. Dante is coming to the next general cab.
Yes, and he'll be doing about the mission and values and culture. That's what,
At the general meeting.
at the general meeting,
Okay,
just information for us. And then maybe we can all develop or come back to OCEC and then go back to the general meeting.
and would that be then a agenda item on each subcommittee's agenda for that next month, that, so everybody discusses it? Right, I think that's kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah, that's was my only point is, see, I kind of was surprised to see this on the OCEC. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it had been on the main cab. So as long as it's anticipated that everyone else will get to weigh in, because this is important stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Okay,
can
so
chime
he'll-
in. I could chime in too. So I think because it's happening at the same time. So I know that Mr. Dante had reached out. Well, he actually mentioned it at the previous CAB meeting that he would love to do a presentation, right? So, and then Crawford's been in contact with him. And so it looks like it may be time to move forward for him to do a presentation for the full CAB body. And then, so these things are happening at the same time. So OCEC often does, because onboarding falls under the purview of OCEC. So it's like you would talk about it, but then you would refer it to the main CAB, which is perfect timing because it can be in conjunction with what he is working on. Now, if once we have our agenda planning meeting, Crawford will tell me what he'd like to be on the next agenda for April. It sounds like we may be ready to move forward with Mr. Dante. And then this could be on the main CAB. So all board members can weigh in, as you just stated. And then it could be a segue into the presentation. I think that might work. Does that sound, how does that sound? Anyone, Crawford or you all?
Sounds good.
It sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that sounds good.
And
That's an
Crawford,
affirmative.
does that make sense as far as the conversation you've been having with Mr. Dante? Is it
Yes.
ready for April, do you think? I'm not sure.
Oh, yes, the invite was to him for April, and I think you'll notice you were copied in, Monique.
Yes,
That,
yes,
I just asked him for time so we could see how much time he would need. And then that gives everybody the opportunity to kind of digest what he has to say. Then they can go back to their individual standing committees, process it, and then come back and say, okay, this is what we can do
Good.
as a group. So he's kind of setting the stage for us and giving us some ideas and how to move forward.
Okay, cool.
Excellent.
Great. So then, everybody's good. We'll move this agenda bullet to the April agenda as a follow-up from what we all just talked about. Okay, awesome. All right, so topic number 5, Monique, the robust list of mayors and this exciting meeting that happens. Is this a monthly meeting?
no, it's a yearly meeting.
Oh, a yearly meeting.
So the mayors, they have a conference every year. And so at the last meeting, Elisa from Supervisor Burgess's office, it told me, oh, you should be able to look at a current list of mayors from that conference. This was before that conference took place, but I did find it online. And so I just shared the link and I'm hoping that it will display. Oh, here it is right here. So let me bring it over. And so essentially what this is basically updating the list of current mayors to our list so that we can send out the information. So that hasn't been translated or transferred to our list yet, but the idea was that I wasn't sure who the current mayors were based on just doing a simple Google search and checking out their websites. It was difficult to find. So these are the mayors for the cities in Contra Costa County. So I do want to make note that Crawford did mention, well, we actually need their staff person, right? Their scheduler. So that is the next step after this step. So we have the people, the actual mayors, and then I need to reach out and find out who the contact person is as far as scheduling. Now, I don't even know if it's really scheduling. It could just be a matter of ensuring that they have our CAB information on their newsletter for outreach. So that, to my understanding, is really about us broadening our bandwidth for mayors and then city, local, state officials so that we can, it really is part of the recruitment effort. I am correct, right? It's part of the recruitment effort. And so the mayors, they have constituents that they send out to their community. And then that is like broadening our base for CAP.
Okay, thanks for bringing that together. Is there an action item for any of us? Are we meant to break up the list, or do you?
So I think what the conversation from last month was actually you would be work on the state. And I don't think I sent that to you. So we had 3 different lists. I did the list for the supervisors. Now I have the mayor's list, which I can continue to get their contact person. And I could do it in a table, but I don't think I sent you the actual 3rd list, which is the state officials. And that was the one where you were the board was going to divvy up that information to determine who would call and update. And I don't believe I sent you that. So I apologize for that. But this is an ongoing process. Am I correct? Does anyone recall that?
So I know, I'm sorry. So
Go ahead.
I know Crawford did send me the legislative contacts for the county, for the state, but it's from 2021. So that might need to be updated.
Mhm. So
And
do
so go ahead.
you want that to be sent out to the board? Because I think the 4 of you were going to update it. And I know Reverend Van Hook was going to update the faith-based contact. So maybe you just want him to do that. And
I
the
can do
3
that.
of you would divvy up the state board, the state
Okay,
contacts.
how does that sound? Yeah, okay. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 state contacts. And you can do 2, 2, and 3. I'm happy to do. So when I send it out, I'll just make a little list of who's gonna do what.
Help.
So actually, Evan, what I think, you know, I'm often confused about the Brown Act too and violating it, right? So I think probably what you should do is send it to me and say, these 2 are for me, these 2 are for Scott, these 2 are
Okay.
for Reverend Van Hook, these 2 are for Brenda. However you divvy it up. And then what I'll do is I'll send it out and blind copy you all.
Okay.
And then so you're not violating the Brown Act by you sending it to Scott, to Reverend Van Hook, to Brenda.
Right, I see, okay.
So
Okay, great.
that's something we just have to always be mindful of.
Thank you for that.
So, yeah.
Chair, I have a question.
Yes,
Did that, you said there were 7, that includes state representatives as well as, pardon me, state assembly members and state senators.
yeah,
Okay,
there's 3 senators indicated
and,
and
we're-
1, 2, 3, 4 assembly members.
okay, good. Just wanted, that's the list. And if I may, to help you, I had a script that, when I was contacting these people, I'll send you the script so you don't have to worry about what you're gonna say to them.
Okay,
How's that? Would that be, now, should I send that to you, Monique, the script?
Yeah, go ahead and send it to me and then, I'm sure it's fine, but I'll show it to Patrice and then we'll send it out in blind. And I often blind copy Crawford too as the chair of CAB. So
No,
he'll
this
just
is,
see.
Yeah, this script is when you're talking to him on the phone.
Right,
okay,
Yeah, all
Right.
you do is, I mean, I don't think we need to. It's a simple script.
okay. Okay,
great. Okay, thank you, Crawford. Okay, so as the next step from that item, I will send that list that I have to Monique with the breakdown.
how it's divided up, yes.
We'll reach
Mhm.
out, yeah. Okay, great. And so then in regards to this mayor's list, then
Mhm.
um,
I could do this. I could definitely reach out to them. Maybe I'll borrow Crawford's script. And I will reach out to them and I'll get, essentially, I'm just really wanting them to add CAB to their email listserv. Like
Okay.
the Board of Supervisors does for us. So,
okay. Okay, great. That's fantastic. Any other comments on this? Agenda?
no, I don't have any other updates unless you all have anything else on this one.
No, I don't think so. Thank you, Monique.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the next up is the work plan
Mhm.
and we have the work plan here.
So since the last time we met, I have not updated the yellows. And I think I wanted to clarify if this is exactly what we definitely wanted or, so there are a few items that we want to look at. So everything that's in yellow and even anything. So at this point now, I have my Word document and I will, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. But I'm going to save this as today's document. And now I'm going to update the information that Scott provided. And
Okay.
I already added the task 6, but I'm going to add it now with the language from the discussion from today.
Great. That's great. Did you need that language?
No, I
repeated?
have it right here. I have it in front of me, so. I'm going to reshare now.
So with the highlights. We're good. We have the faith-based and Reverend Van Hook, you're gonna work on that list for us.
Yes.
Update the members that will be primary and secondary for the meeting to report out. For task 3. So I think we just talked about the language for task 6. I don't know that we need to talk about it any further. Does anybody have any other comment on any aspect of the work plan? For the year?
No, she's updating it as we sit here, which is good. You all get a chance to see it in the real here. And if I could just comment on the faith-based I think that is a great addition to our community outreach. My experience is that was probably one of the best ways of reaching the community
Definitely.
and with credibility and all in my career. So it's very nice to see that addition.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then on the backside of the work plan, the addition there, we specified the June to July of discussing the assignments, and then September, October for the meetings to be scheduled. So folks are out in August. Okay, so any further conversation on the work plan? Or do you think this is a voting item, so we're gonna.
So what I'd like to do, Evan, is, so this, I've updated task 6. And if this is what you all are agreeing to, it's no longer a draft. We're adding it, is that correct? And as you review it, do I have it right? I'll take the yellow away. And the other yellows I have, I want to make sure that, so it wouldn't be Scott will provide, he provided it. So I would like to ask you all, so responsible persons or resources. So usually it could be all or one person is taking charge. So you all tell me what you'd like to update here for who is responsible. Would it be a joint effort, all, or 2 people, or 1 person?
Yeah.
And this would be for each category, each one.
Mhm. Okay, so do we want to start at the top then?
Yes, probably wise.
So in terms of task 1, surveying CAB on the knowledge base of current CAB members. Is anybody specifically skilled with developing survey? Clarifying question, I think for Monique and possibly also for Crawford. In the responsible persons, are we identifying just the committee members, or are we identifying any CAB advisory board member?
It would just be the
Just for-
OCC standing committee. And Crawford can correct me if necessary. I think in the past, if we wanted to bring it to the full CAB to get to solicit input from, like if a CAB member wanted to help with a project, I think they may have done that in the past, but Crawford, do you recall that? I think so.
I was sending you an email. Okay, that script, okay, would you go back to your question? I'm so sorry.
Yes, so I think the question is, we established the responsible person. I'm gonna try and answer your question, Monique. I think
Okay,
responsible person is somebody on this committee that'll be in charge of the task.
Yes.
Resources might be another person in CAB.
Okay, which item are you?
Sorry, we're in the right-hand column. We're gonna start, I guess, assigning the responsibility for the tasks. So that's kind of how I'm seeing that, as a responsible person is the shepherd of the task in this committee, and resources might be people or other things maybe that are not in this immediate.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, that's fair.
Okay. So number 1 then. Surveying. Surveying CAB on the knowledge base of the current CAB members. Any volunteers?
I think that's something we should all do.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I see that as, and on the last page, there is one that says all.
Already.
Yeah, already, which is good, I guess. I see that as all of it playing a role in that.
I completely agree.
But we can
And-
have, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think maybe if we had someone who can take the lead on making sure that maybe if we do things collectively or in a collaborative manner, if we just if one person is responsible for keeping track of it, to make sure that we're all meeting all of our tasks and
Yeah.
outcome goals as well.
Yeah.
And that might be make it a way to make it manageable.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. So in that case, then maybe we'll in terms of going around, then there's particular skills, or we'll kind of go with the understanding that all of us are responsible for each task. But as Reverend Van Hook so fantastically stated, we'll have kind of a one point person to kind of keep track of that. So with that context in mind, any volunteers for number one?
I would like to work in that area.
Okay.
Because I think it's important to make sure that we have, whatever diversity needed of knowledge base to make sure that we're able to implement the things that we need to implement as in this body. I don't mind discussing that and figuring out a way to figure that out.
Okay, that's great. I really like a good survey, so I'm happy to assist in that one.
So you two will develop a survey for the rest of us to use.
Well, it's a way to survey the survey CAB on the knowledge base. So I don't know if it's gonna be, I don't know, we could figure out maybe an innovative way to get people to really volunteer what they're, what they're good at, what their knowledge base is, a way of understanding that, because people will fill out anything, but it's one thing when you're in conversation and you can really get a gist of, exactly, or if I have a passion for this, because if they have a passion for it and the knowledge, they can,
So I have a question. When in the past, the county staff had posted the application and the flyer, in a sense, at a number of different locations, and we garnered interest. You didn't do any direct marketing for certain qualifications or background, right? We were just general interest. When does this come to play? Is this for us to target our recruiting, or is this once interested parties have expressed an interest that we're doing this? I just don't know. This is just kind of an informal conversation so far. And is this going to become a formal part of what we do?
I think it gets back to us understanding what it is, what our goal is, or what our purpose is. Again, why that's important, right? In the missions, all that kind of stuff. It all builds on it. Because if we know what it is we plan to do or what we need to do, that does determine who you recruit and or who you accept. It causes us to form our questions in the way that we recruit, and even just accept people based on if there's a vacancy or not, or if we need it just filled, or we're just filling it with the person and they're not, and they don't have, there's still going to be a void in what we need.
Got it.
In whatever area.
Got it.
Yeah.
for example, I'm just gonna say this, for example, you know, I know that I can for sure create a wonderful, diverse, faith-based list that will incorporate all of Contra Costa County. You know, that will, don't even know what the values or whatever is, but if, let's just say diversity is one. I just won't pick all Baptist churches or all Hindu temples. I'll do a survey to make sure that whatever I'm doing is included, is inclusive of what it is
Got it.
that our
Yeah.
mission is. So that's how I know that I can provide that. And that's something that I know that I can do. So I know that I can fulfill whatever it is from a faith-based perspective and whatever else, you know, because I'm bringing that and knowing that that's something. And I'm saying that based on the conversation that I had with Crawford coming in while I was even here, before I even understood anything. It was reached out to a faith-based representative. So I knew in what lens I was coming to provide whatever input.
Got it.
Does that make sense? So that's why I see this being important. Yeah.
That's great.
So,
But that's how I see that playing out. That's how I see it playing
I
out.
agree. I like what you said, and I agree. It's just good that we all kind of hear that perspective, because I didn't know quite, when does this play? Does this play when we have 6 applicants and we're looking less? And, you know, of the 6 applicants, we're really looking for one specific thing. That's going to guide our selection possibly at that point in time. Are we actually going to go recruit people that fill a certain void? And that was just, I wanted to understand where everyone's thoughts were and see what this looks like.
Fantastic. That would be such a great thing to come up with.
Mhm.
6 hours.
Yes.
All right, great. So thank you, Reverend Van Hook.
Absolutely.
And then task number 2.
okay, can I add something to task 1 also, Evan? And this is something that I failed to mention to you all. So as the public, right now it's just us, myself, I'm like the public staff, public virtually, and you all are in the room. So when you're in the room, as much as you can remember, please try to identify who's speaking. So like Evan, you would say, this is Evan. I mean, you don't have to say it each time, because if you're involved in the conversation and you've already introduced yourself, but the public does not know who you are, Evan, even though you already introduced yourself. So someone brought that to our attention. So as much as you can remember, just say, this is Evan, this is Scott, Reverend Van Hook, Brenda, Crawford,
Okay.
you know, even myself, Monique, you know. But it might be easier to see me speaking because I have my picture here. But just keep that in mind. But I also want to bring you back to task 1, where I put, okay, so the lead would be Reverend Van Hook, and then I put and all. So what I envision is, and you can let me know if this is accurate, is Reverend Van Hook will provide something, a survey, and ORJ is definitely here.
I'll lead the conversation. I can commit to leading the conversation around figuring out what's needed. To
Okay,
how we
Okay.
can survey properly.
Right.
okay. And what I was thinking is that ORJ is certainly here to support you. So
Okay, good.
what we probably would need to do is offline, you and I will work together to try to develop something. Like you could do it separately and I could do it separately. We come together. But in the public meeting, so like at your public meeting, because it
I
says
see.
ongoing from January through December, you would present it to the board and then they would provide input. And when I say the board,
see.
I mean this committee. You
I
guys
see.
provide the input. And then you may even be at a place where you say, oh, I think we've done great with our survey. Let's present it to the full cap. And then
I
that could
see.
be an agenda. So that's how I see it. And that may be accurate or inaccurate, but I think that's what the process looks like.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay,
And I think what I heard you saying also is that a survey might just be a conversation.
Or we figure out the best way, you know, because we just want it to be effective. And we just say survey, because you know, half people don't really fill out surveys.
Yeah.
I'm just honest, you know.
Well, exactly. And I think the term survey could mean just what you're suggesting. You're surveying the audience.
Correct.
Whether it be OCEC or the general cab, is there an area that we want to enhance our recruitment?
Absolutely.
I don't think you need a form
Absolutely.
because that is a turnoff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we don't need turnoff.
No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah,
Well, this is Monique again, so I agree. So it could simply be the conversation you're having in your public meeting. And then we have our application that's posted online. It may be simply displaying the application and saying, wait a minute, we no longer need this, let's change this. So it could be that also, because it talks about the application for new members. So it might be something on the application itself that you simply want to tweak or, update. And I don't know, I should have announced this earlier too, during the announcements, but we did have an applicant that was, we were considering, but she had to withdraw her application due to personal family situation. So I don't think the full board was aware of that. I know that Crawford and maybe Evan, I blind copied you all, but I think it's important that the entire board knows that. So now we don't have an applicant that we're considering. So,
Yeah.
which she was
and
voted
I'm-
on, right? So,
Yeah, thanks for, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah,
this is Scott. I like the fact that we've had this conversation. I like the suggestion that could be just part of a general conversation. I also think we need to be kind of careful that we're not targeting so much and so effectively that others may not feel they have an opportunity.
Which is why exactly.
You know
And
what I mean?
that was the thought process around that.
Yeah.
Because we figure it out. That also helps us to figure out the balance that's needed.
Exactly.
So we don't allow those things don't happen.
fantastic. All right, thank you, this is Devin again. Thanks for clarifying that, and again, River Van Hook for leading that. So moving on to task number 2. The way that I'm reading this, Monique, it would seem like maybe this falls on you, even though I know you're not like a committee member, but is this something, I mean, I know we, are going through it.
so this is
I mean, I
Monique and this is Monique, and I think you're absolutely right. It does fall on me to make sure that. So I guess I'm one of the members of the committee. No, actually, what we can put on here, yeah, exactly. I could put on here, I could say all, because I think that it would fall under your leadership. Crawford often will send me an email and ask me to ensure that we run the application again, like through our constant contact recruitment. So I could say all, and then I could put I could just say and or J. Because ultimately it's going to come from the office, right? So I would say all because it would be under your direction. You would be advising me to do this. And then I would just say and or J, because or J is going to ultimately ensure that it's on the different websites, right? Is that sufficient? Does that look okay?
Yeah, this is Evan. I think so. Yeah. So
Okay.
ORJ would be the resource there to get that done.
Okay,
So
I think I'm gonna change this one here to say and
good to
all.
everyone
Yeah.
around the office.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all and ORJ? Is that what, or?
Right,
Yeah.
so it would be you all leading the charge. And then you're directing me to ensure that this happens on a regular basis. So yes,
So we can just make sure it's up there. Okay. Okay, good for task 2. All right. Task 3. OC outreach to county and or city boards, commissions, and CBOs for the recruitment of current and future membership needs.
Yeah. This is Scott. I see this as somewhat similar to the one above, that there's going to be times where we will be outreaching as a member of OCEC or the greater CAB, but also ORJ has taken a strong role in that, right? Monique?
Yes, you're correct. So
And I
how
can
would you
also-
like me to, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say as well, I can, again, just also volunteer for faith-based recruitment for, as well. I'm just putting my 2 cents in what I volunteer for.
Okay.
And this is Evan. So I agree with you, Scott. I do feel drawn towards having somebody responsible for it though. Because I think although Monique is the person that will help bring it all together, it would be nice to have a committee member that, is the one for Monique to touch base with. Right, I guess that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Right, again, like reminding us of the context of we all want to see each task go forward. But in terms of the particular, I think the thing that is here were outreach, and I know that it seems like the common method of the outreach is the email outreach from ORJ. But there's also the internal outreach that's happening through conversations, like how I came on board with Joelle having a conversation with me, and that type of thing. So not that this person will be responsible for doing that outreach, but we also see like there's a few members that have volunteered to support that. So in terms of keeping kind of track of that, it seems like it might make sense to have a point person instead. Often it happens in my work when somebody rattles on about a particular task, everybody turns and then says, well, that's great. Then you go ahead and
Volunteered yourself, yeah.
I'll go ahead and volunteer to be the lead for that task, Monique. And so that's myself and all with ORJ as the resource, I think.
Okay, how does that look? That's Monique. How does that look?
That's great.
And I heard Reverend Van Hook mention faith-based. Now, should it be, you see down below for community outreach, task 2, we added faith-based here. Should that look like this one also? So should it be outreach to county and or city boards, commission, CBOs, and faith-based for the, or is this?
You can add that because I'm saying that's how I would contribute in the membership area, membership cultivation area as well.
Okay, and do you all agree to that, right? I'm just, because we have it down here, so it should be the same. Is that correct? Everyone?
I think so.
Okay,
I think
all right, so I'll make that change here then.
So have it in 2 different locations because it's 2
Just,
different
yeah.
strategies in a sense. Yeah.
Right. Mhm.
I'm with that.
Because you may get some outreach, but you may not get membership. But if you want membership, some different
Right.
faith communities are really big on this, on their civil duties.
Right.
So you may, you just never know.
Okay. Great, thank you, Monique. This is Evan. Okay, so on to task 4. OCEC will work with ORJ in reviewing the CAB membership applications and follow the bylaws to create an application pool. Which it would, I don't know what those bylaws are. I don't think I've seen them, but
So essentially, the bylaws are the operating guidelines.
Okay.
And off the top of my head, I would have to look at the operating guidelines to see which article, which section talks about membership where it strictly applies to OCEC. So, yeah, so it really shouldn't say bylaws. It should say operating guidelines because we use it interchangeably. But,
well, we can change it, right?
we can
haven't-
change it, yes,
I don't know.
operating guidelines. To create an application pool. I could definitely blind copy you all and just send it out, so you could just refresh your memory on what it says specific to that, I mean. Yeah, specific to that situation. And it's really, you're just following what the guidelines are. So ORJ will work, OCEC will work with ORJ, me, in reviewing the CAB membership application. So we're gonna look at the existing applications and follow what the guidelines say to create an application pool. So, and that's done January through December, so it's basically ongoing. And
For the folks. Yeah. Like, we do all of that. We do that together.
Together,
Yeah,
yes.
that's an all.
yeah. Okay,
Okay. All right. Task 5, interview prospective new CAB membership applicants and make recommendations to the full CAB approval of any new CAB members. I think that's also,
It's all.
that's in all of us. If we do that in our meetings. That's also in all.
okay,
And our newly added task 6 here, plan, develop and schedule. Looks like we need a timeline there also. So,
This is Scott. I would say it's a January to December as well, because we're constantly going to be adjusting for new membership, assessing training needs. So that won't fall on a specific one. It's going to be an all around a year obligation, I would think, right?
I think definitely the second part of it is, but the first part, plan, develop and schedule. Maybe that would happen later in the
So
year.
the way it kind of felt, this is Scott, the way that, right, Crawford, we started talking about it in October. We wanted to have more solidified in November. As it worked out, that was really in December, but it's kind of a moving planning that occurs. I mean, you could bifurcate task 6, but because the second sentence is in there, it kind of makes it a all the way around the year consideration.
Yeah.
But this is Crawford, may I comment?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair? You know, it just dawned on me after we went through last year and how we get jammed into November, December. And I'm stepping back and thinking, we put a lot on the ORJ staff at the end of the year. And
Monique is smiling.
and so my thought is, and I'll throw this out for consideration, when we're looking at planning for that next year, we should have a draft maybe in July or August.
Mm.
Because I may be selfish, but if you look at the plan we put together this year, take that plan and we should be tweaking that now. And when I say now, June, July, or whatever. And then say, we've got something ready to go. So that we don't put the burden at the end of the year, during vacations, etc. And then when January hits, or you could say at the end of November and December, Mr. Chair OCEC, let's roll this out. Let's get that to Patrice. Let's get it to Monique. And again, I'm talking about November. And this is basically the document. And then let them tweak it. Because we've already got a boilerplate, so why let that boilerplate sit until the last week of January, of December? And then there's the big rush, everybody's rushing, we gotta get this, we gotta get that. And as everybody's taking a deep breath, we've got a boilerplate. So we should take advantage of our time now. I mean, that's just a suggestion, that's up to you.
I've seen Monique raising her hand.
So, yeah, I definitely can't stop smiling because Crawford is reminiscing on how tough it was last year. And this is a public meeting that's being recorded. So I'm going to leave it at that. It was tough last year. Crawford was on me about getting certain things done. And, it was well within his right, but it was tough. It was really tough to get a lot of the last minute details in. Like you said, with vacations, and, the office being closed for so many days, it was really tough. So thank you, Crawford, for that revelation or epiphany you have to make things better.
Mr. Chair, this is
Yeah.
Crawford again. This is tough saying your name all the time. You know what? Think about OCEC, the things that this body does. It's like, we got to get it fast and kind of take a breath. Because the ambassador program, that's what everything's all about. So you've got to do a lot of pre-planning so that when it's time to do that ambassador program, you're ready to hit the ground running. And then right after the ambassador program, we should have some things hopefully in the queue for that doggone orientation that'll be coming in January. So just, to me, those are the two major highlights along with, well, you got three things in recruiting. Yes, Scott, yes, thank you.
So, this is Scott. And have it be noted that Monique talked and didn't say it was Monique. I just had to throw that in.
Mrs. Monique, thank you.
Yeah, so everything Crawford just said is absolutely true and correct. But for the purpose of this exercise, it's what are we going to plug in? Because we got 20 minutes left in this meeting to finish this document.
Okay.
And then I think as a group, we need to strategize when we start certain things, because you are correct. We got last year, it was all happening at the end of the year. But
So this is Evan, I have a proposal. So looking at task 6, after the first sentence, that seems like a different task. So if we have a task 6, and then we make task 7, which is the follow-up, right? So we have task 6 is plan, develop, and schedule the annual onboarding and orientation training for January, right? The way it is. Task 7, ensure that all the CAB members that come on after that training receive the proper training. Task 7 is a year-round thing, January through December, as we're making sure that it happens. Task 6, more maybe of a 6-month or 7-month piece.
Yeah, I agree with that strategy that Crawford just said. If we start earlier, we'll be better off. So that's the month you could pick, and that's a.
Yeah.
I'll agree to any of those, whichever you want in there, July or whatever, but it can't be November.
Right.
We did that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, thanks for doing that, Monique. So then, how about for then task 6? We say, June to December. Which the event is in January, so we should be ready by then. Okay. And how does that, before we go into that?
I like your idea. I think it's a good one. In task 7, then it should be, OCEC will also ensure that all CAB members who are selected to the board after the annual training, not this annual training.
After the,
Yeah, after the annual training is offered and
after
is,
the,
yeah, is offered.
the January
receive-
annual.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please? This is Monique. Can you repeat that, please?
So, for task 7, it just line 2 at the end there, it says this. Line 2 of task 7 at the end says this, I would put the.
Who are, so CAB members who are selected to the board after the annual training are offered and receive the essential elements.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think definitely task number 6 falls on all of us. I think though that is probably a good responsibility of the chair to lead that particular one. So I can lead that particular task 6. Any comments? And then task 7. Also all of us, right?
So there is an accountability piece to number 7 that someone's got to decide on what the essential elements are, because you're going to take a 2-day training and cook it down, right? So I don't mind. It can be an all/ or if you want to put it on me. Because we all agree to what it is, but I can help foster that if you'd like. What is it that because each year it's going to change this slightly too.
Great, okay. Thank you, Scott. Any other comments on either of those 2 tabs? All right, and I'm being mindful of the time. And looking at the, we need to get to approve this though. Okay, all right, so let's move. I try and move rather quickly. So community outreach task 1, update the CAB outreach presentation PowerPoint to reflect the CAB 2019 policy statement and platform. Is that also?
Well, this is Monique.
Oh,
I just have to make sure that the 2019 is the last one. We may have had one more recent than that. So that is something I need to check on to see when our last policy statement and platform. Crawford, do you recall by any chance?
I think we did update it for the recent one. Maybe the terminology should be reflect the current CAB policy.
Yeah,
And
whatever and whenever. Yeah,
maybe if we change the terminology and
Calendar year, maybe.
or something of that nature. And if it would, by the way, Monique, oh, this is Crawford, may I I don't mind helping on that one, but I'm not a member of the committee. Is that appropriate? Or should it just be committee members?
Well, I think we can put you as a resource,
Okay,
but we should have a
Okay.
committee member.
Scott, because you and I worked on that stuff before.
we did indeed. And I
So
think chair of the greater cabin chair, and it can be me again. You can designate it to me and I'm more than happy to do it. But
Okay,
we definitely want to keep that,
why don't you and I just do it?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay. Put Scott and,
Crawford.
yeah,
I heard Scott volunteer.
yeah, Scott.
Oh, now I have a last name. Can't even blame the other Scott. There isn't one.
Love it.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah. And then that forces us to get this stuff right and to get things ready early. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
All right, this is Monique again. I just want to make sure I have this correct. Update the CAB outreach presentation PowerPoint to reflect the current CAB policy statement and platform of the current year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or is this redundant?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. But maybe, reflect the, current, yeah, I guess current.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay,
But, yeah. Okay. So task number 2 on community outreach. Identify and log this variety of meetings. Seek community input, concern, and recommendations for reentry services. Okay, so the identifying and the logging. That is happening in the variety of lists that we're creating. And then the seeking input, concern and recommendations. Any volunteers for this particular task? I think this would go in alignment with, again, working with ORJ.
I'm doing my part on,
For the faith-based.
yes.
Mhm. Okay. Anybody else want to be kind of the point person to making sure that all of that happens in a timely manner?
You can put me down. Oh,
Okay.
this is Brenda. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
The only other female here. So.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. So that's Brenda, the with ORJ, right? That's, yeah. Okay.
it should, this is Monique again. Should Reverend Van Hook be on here too for faith-based, or should both of them be there?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, sure. Give us something to work on together.
Also, this is Monique again. Do we want to keep this at May as far as the timeline? Or should that be like ongoing, or should that be January through December? Or, well, the PowerPoint is not, the PowerPoint is toward the end of the year. Is that correct, Crawford?
Is it what I didn't?
It's
The
towards the end of the
PowerPoint.
year.
Or is it specifically for the retreat?
We updated it for the retreat. And maybe if you put May there, then it's got to get done.
That's
By May.
that's how I took it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good with May.
But yeah,
Since-
gotta get done.
Yeah.
Okay.
fine.
Doesn't get done, then Scott's responsible.
Yes,
May or may
We'll
not.
get it done. Scott.
yes, we will.
Okay, great. All right, so task number 3 in community outreach. Representatives attempting to visit monthly meetings. This is the discussion that happened in the general CAB meeting. There was a number of people that volunteered. I'll go ahead, why don't you go ahead and, unless anyone else, I'm happy to volunteer. for this one. Kind of keep track. Okay. And number 4, last but not least. Coordinate CAB ambassadors program to assign CAB members to be ambassadors to the boss and CCC executive members. Board of Supervisors, okay, boss.
So this one's huge, Scott speaking. And it's one that we want to kind of keep our eye on. The ambassador program requires all CAB members to participate, not just OCEC. So there's us stepping outside of our own group and managing it with the rest. And Crawford, you did this pretty well by people trying to pick and choose what they'd like to do. Gives us a start. There's a lot to this. I'm more than happy to help with, you know, because you're kind of coming into the fray and you haven't really been through this, and it's involved. I'm more than happy to help, but it's a combination of the CAB, the OCEC, and county staff working together.
Okay. All I heard was Scott.
So
No, in all seriousness, so let's put Scott and I've heard all plus CAB committee, CAB general committee, and ORJ. That's that.
that's great. And we
That sounds
definitely want to start this one sooner than last year. Only because, and just for those that haven't been through this, there's board members' schedules that we need to adapt to. There's other leaders that we're meeting from the CCP that we need to adapt to. And it's real nice in our minds that we can get this done quick, but it's not as quick as we'd like to think.
Right.
And there's updated issues that Monique helped tremendously in terms of contact information. So I'm happy to do this and work with Monique and starting to get that original matrix out so people can sign up for what they'd like, or at least try.
May I comment 1 second?
Yes.
I'll work with Scott again, or you, or
You're
whoever, because the sooner we get that out, that makes it all easier as you're planning. And we did learn from our interview with new supervisor Carlson. You can't make an appointment maybe a month in advance.
Yeah.
It's almost better to try to do it 2 to 3 months in advance. So if we make our selections now, or a tentative selections, that gets us on their calendar.
Calendar
Then we can
early.
move people around,
Right.
but CAB's on their calendar. I think that's what we learned,
Yeah.
Scott, from.
So thanks for that, Crawford. This is Evan speaking again. Were you gonna respond to that? I'm sorry, I kind of jumped in.
Well, I had a question if I could for Monique. And that is, Monique, did you send any kind of a communique in behalf of us to all those key people so they kind of knew what was coming? Was there anything like that?
No, this is Monique. No, we don't. So you all make that contact from your toolkit. So you have your script and you actually make the contact with the individuals. That's why we have the schedulers or the contact person, right? So you make the contact with the person to schedule the meeting with the representative. So I don't send anything out.
You nailed it. That's.
Crawford is speaking.
Oh, this is Crawford. You nailed it. That's what we should do before we
Yes.
send out.
Yes.
Something from ORJ in, I don't care, May or June, we will be hearing from
Exactly,
one of your cab members will be this short and sweet. We don't need a just.
right.
Short and sweet, and that sets the stage for Reverend Van Hook or Brenda. And then they get that communication, they're on board.
That was the black hole in this whole process last year where things kind of got lost.
Yes.
And I want to make sure if it's at all possible, and I see Monique smiling, I hope that's a friendly smile. But it'd be nice to have an organizational to the CCP. Guess what? It's coming.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So that they're not blindsided. Ma'am.
So this is Monique. So Brenda, you're pretty quiet. Brenda, you're pretty quiet in this meeting. I recall Brenda saying at the last CAB meeting, she wasn't gonna say anything because every time Crawford looked at her, he gave her some work to do. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like, I have all this extra work on my plate. No, it's okay. I'm here to serve you all. So what I'll do is I'll talk to Patrice and I'll ask her how that actually will look on our end, okay? It definitely appears to be something that we can do. Maybe, I don't know if she'll have me send it out to each individual person or if she'll simply have us put it in our newsletter, which they all should be. So I'll ask Patrice to see how logistically we can make that happen, okay?
Great.
Is that okay?
That sounds great. Okay, so we have made it through the work plan. And this is a voting item to, I think, approve the work plan for the 2023 calendar year.
And this is Monique. You have a minute to spare, but is this okay the way it's read, the way it's noted here, June through July? Because I know these dates were updated from the last time in an effort to get things done sooner. So this still is good.
I appreciate you bringing that up, and seeing as it's on this agenda, why don't we move that, just the June date up to March? So we'll say March to July. Because it's on this agenda and it seems
Okay.
like trying to get that straightened away. I don't know if anybody has any
Well, I think that's
objections. Okay. And then I think the rest of it's good.
Okay, so this is Monique again. So if you want to just glance at it, I don't want to, belabor the point, but are you at a place where everything looks fine and you're ready to vote on it?
I think we've been updating it with you the entire time. I'm
Yeah.
confident.
Mhm.
This is Julius Vandal speaking.
yeah. Well, I can make a motion if you'd like that we
Oh, yeah.
approve the 2023 work plan. And if there's a second.
I second
All right.
that motion.
Any public, any further discussion? No? Okay. And then Monique, would you like to take a roll call?
Yes, so Evan,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Reverend Van Hook,
Aye.
and Brenda.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Fantastic. Round of applause for everybody.
Hoorah.
And there, we do have an additional agenda item. I'd like to move that we postpone that agenda item to the next meeting. Is that okay with everybody?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We don't need to take a vote on that. No, okay. So everybody's in agreement. We had a couple next steps from number 5 and number 4. For that, so I'm gonna send out the list to you with the assignments. And then for number 4, we'll continue to develop what that onboarding process is. Any other next steps? Maybe? No, nothing else? Okay. In that case, then, any further comments? Any thoughts? Considerations for the next agenda? Next
Good
one?
meeting, sir.
No? Okay. All right, so then I guess we can go ahead and adjourn at 12:33. Thank you so much, everybody. All right. And thanks, Monique. I know you're just in the other room. But
Yeah, I know, right?
great.
Well, she isn't gonna talk to me if I called her out.
In a public meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
Good
Great.
stuff, wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And
We got some work to do. It's great to see everyone in person.
Yeah, nice to see you too in person.
Good job.
Oh, my gosh.
Hi, Monique.
Look at that. You're like Wizard of Oz coming from behind the curtain.
Yes.
So. All right. Thank you all so much.
Yes.
Drive safe. I do have a 1 o'clock in St.
That was another meeting too.
Yeah,
I'll be in touch.
Great job. Thank you.
Right through that door. Good to see you. Right through that door, it's on your right.
Okay, wonderful.